product consultancy representing global trade food companies. First and foremost, Ambassador Vetter, indeed, what you've done on SPS and regulatory convergence, TBT, intellectual property has been wonderful. And we are seeking to build on what we did 20 years ago, so 20 years from now it's going to be very different. So I'm glad to see we're starting now towards the next generation. In that regard, next week in Peru, there will be a meeting of a lot of the APEX ministers and looking at what's the new agenda for the next year. They've got a robust dialogue on transportation, they've got a robust dialogue on investment, they have a robust dialogue on airlines. Can we have a robust dialogue on agri-food, given all the technical barriers in trade that are in play in the region, in APEC and in TPP? Can it be a capacity-building venue to address what is still out there?
Well, thank you for that good question, and I don't think TPP finishing the negotiations is actually the start of our common endeavors and not the conclusion of them. So I think that's a great way of framing what we can do. And of course, TPP grew out of APEC. It was a group of APEC members who were willing to take that next step and further integrate their economies. I think APEC has had for a long time a very strong agenda in the food and ag sector, and working cooperatively with business to say, you know, how do we coordinate our laboratories? I know it's an effort that Audrey has been involved in. To make sure that companies know that they will face the same testing procedures, the same standards when they hit the border, and that those will actually be robust and provide the food safety protection that countries are looking for. So I think APEC has been and will continue to be a good venue for discussing sort of where the rubber meets the road on these rules and how regulatory authorities apply them and how businesses prepare for them and can be, you know, assisting in creating high standard and safe food trade among those countries. So I do expect that work will continue. And I'm excited about the fact that TPP, we always talk about what the benefits are, but we don't talk a lot about the structures that it creates. But there will be an SPS committee created in the SPS chapter where officials will need to meet on a yearly basis and talk about how is implementation going. And when you have, you know, 12 countries sitting around the table, that's probably not the best place to do bilateral problem solving. You're going to want to find other venues to do that. But if you have 13 countries with their SPS officials at the table, that's a chance to say, what are the impediments we're all facing? What things is it hard for us to implement? What are the growing issues in the SPS arena that we see affecting trade, new plant and animal health issues, new standards in food safety? So it's really an opportunity for our officials to be meeting and educating each other and continuing to advance that agenda and reduce those impediments related to SPS or TBT or what have you related to trade.